Hi friends, welcome this session. Today we have to discuss about the topic geographical discoveries. Before going to discuss on that particular subject, let us see what was the background of Europe during those days. From the period of 15th and 16th century, witnessed a great transition in the history of European world. At that time, the European commercial activities almost centered around the Mediterranean Sea. Their economic stability almost depend upon this kind of trading activities. As we know that before these explorations, East and Western nations had maintained their contact through the lands, but the kind of efforts was very difficult and they cover vast distance through mountains and deserts, and the traveler took a long time. Sometimes their major part of time spent for the search of their destinations. And also we can see when the Turks conquered Constantinople, which was in 1453, at the time the Europeans were forced to find out alternative route to the east. The Turks was not allowed to Europeans to use this channel. At that time there was no other land route available, and the Europeans, especially the European traders, were forced to find out an alternative route to their own needs. From this background, the European traders, especially the navigators, started their own mission to find out a new route in the east. During that time, the European rulers also encouraged these kind of maritime activities. They believe that these commercial activities, which is very much benefited for their own nation. At that time, the prices of pepper, as we know that almost the Europeans, they were great demand on Indian spices. At that time, the price of pepper in European market was 25 times more than that of in India. So the rulers and the huge merchants in the European countries provided all kind of necessary help and encouragement to the maritime explorers. The historic explorations were not made suddenly. Several factors were contributed for the epoch making explorations in the world. Then we have to analyze what are the main causes for these geographical exploration. Then we can listed a number of causes behind these geographical explorations. Then first one, the fall of Constantinople. As we know that the historic incident, the capture of Constantinople by Turks in 1453, was considered as the turning point in the history of Europe, especially the history of maritime Europe. The Turks were not allowed to use the early pass to the Europeans, and it was compelled to the Europeans to discover alternative route. Then another important causes that the fabulous wealth of the East. As we know that the Europeans travelers were well knowledge about the eastern countries. During the Middle Ages, the Crusades brought about a closer contact between East and West, and the Europeans understand the rich potential of the eastern nations. That's why they try to maintain a good healthier trade relation between eastern countries. Then the third important causes is that the strong demand for oriental countries. The consumers of the European countries, especially, they were expressed a strong demand for oriental commodities, especially spices, then Indian cottons, indigo, then sandals and Chinese silks, etc. This kind of demand, which is very much encouraged this kind of commercial contacts. The next cause is that the rulers of the Europe wanted to establish their own emperor in Asian and African countries. One of the main aim of these European rulers to control the entire trade and attain maximum profit from this kind of trading activities. Then the another important thing is that the improvement of navigation. As we know that the medieval period, we can see a lot of scientific innovations, that this kind of scientific innovations which is very much benefited for improving this kind of geographical discoveries. During those days, the Europeans having the adventurous spirit to sail in the unknown seas. The sailors had developed much knowledge and skill and experience. Then they invented the great invention, as in the case of maritime activities, magnetic needle, and also they were developed a new kind of map making, and they were increased the growth of knowledge in geography and astronomy, and the construction of better ships were very much useful for this kind of geographical explorations. Then the sixth major cause is that the great patronage of rulers, especially during the period of Prince Henry the Navigator, the Portugal ruler, took a great interest in shipping and navigation. As a part of this process, he started a navigation school for providing training for youth. Then and also he earned himself as used the title of Henry the Navigator. Then another important thing is that the desire to spread Christianity. Then almost all the European kings and rulers, they had to main ambition to spreading Christianity to the new countries wherever they discovered. These are the main causes of geographical discoveries. And now let us discuss about the important inventors. Then the first one, Christopher Columbus. He was an Italian navigator. He had joined several expeditions. As a part of these expeditions, he discovered America. In 1492, he started a mission along with three ships such as Santa Maria, the Nina and the Pinta, and 88 men. From that journey, he explored Cuba and Haiti. His next expedition, which was conducted in 1493, one of the main aim of his expeditions is that he was established a new colony wherever he discovered. He got all financial support from the rulers of Spain, and his last expedition, which is conducted in 1503, he reached Honduras and Mexico, and after that he died in 1506 in Spain. Though his journey, Columbus reached in different part of America, but he never knew that he had reached in the American continent. He believed that he had reached in India. Then the credit of this discovery of America by the Italian navigator Amerigo Vespucci in the 16th century. Naturally, the name America was given to the new continent by the Europeans in the memory of Amerigo Vespucci. The next great navigator in connection with this geographical exploration was Vasco da Gama. A Portuguese navigator started his journey from Lisbon in 1497. He traveled through the Atlantic Ocean and he reached Mombasa in the eastern coast of Africa. And after that, he traveled through the Indian Ocean and reached at Kapat near Calicut in 1498. During that time, the ruler of Kozhikode was Samarin. He welcomed Gama and provided all facilities for trading activities. It is reported that Gama carried over to Portugal from Malabar was 60 times more than the entire expense of Gama's voyage. After that, he conferred the title the Admiral of Indian Ocean. In 1502, Gama once again arrived at Calicut with 20 ships. Then he reached Calicut from the third time in 1524 as the Portuguese Viceroy of India. In the same year, he died at Kochi. Ferdinand Magellan was the another great navigator. He wished to reach India by sailing around the world to the south of America. Then Magellan started his mission from Spain in 1519 along with his 5 ships: San Antonio, Trinidad, Conception, Santiago and Victoria. The Spanish King Charles I provided all help for him, and he traveled through Atlantic Ocean, and he reached another ocean which is very calm and quiet. Magellan named the ocean as Pacific Ocean. Finally, he reached Philippines. On this island, he lost his life on April 27, 1521 in a fight with the natives. Magellan's explorations cleared a great doubt about the nature of Earth, and it was proved that the Earth is round. In addition with some of great explorers such as Cabral, John Cabot, Sebastian Cabot were taken part of these maritime explorations. And then after that we have to discuss about the result of these geographical explorations. This kind of geographical explorations made a long-lasting consequence in the history of the world. The impact of these geographical discoveries were listed both good effects and bad effects. First, we have to analyze about the good effects. First one, the world become larger. The concept of world become larger. The world was extended after the discovery of these continents, especially North America and South America and some other part of Africa, which was the concept of world become larger. Then another thing is that they established a good contact between East and West. Which is established in large scale. After these explorations, we have seen a large number of Europeans came to the East for various reasons such as trade, conquest and colonizations, which is very much benefited for develop this kind of East-West relations. Another great impact is that the entry of new and more articles in European market. The new commodities entry into the European markets, and the European consumers expressed a great demand for that kind of commodities, especially Indian textiles, Indian spices, and also we can see American commodities such as tobacco, potatoes, cocoa, chocolate were great demand in European markets. And another thing is that the supply of precious metal to Europe from the metals like gold from Mexico and Peru, silver from Bolivia, all these metals were utilized to purchase commodities for various kinds. And another great thing is that, great impact is that the center of trade shifted from Mediterranean to the Atlantic. Then the discovery of new sea routes increased the importance of Atlantic Ocean and reduced the Mediterranean and Baltic Sea, which was resulted the port like London, Lisbon and Amsterdam became more the great centers of commerce and industry, and at the same time the ancient port like Venice, Genoa, Hamburg suffered a great setback. Then another great impact is that the rise of new class. After this kind of exploration, which is very much benefited for the traders, after that these traders they become a new nobility class, and they were emerged as one of the major sections in the society, and they were known as the middle class people. This kind of class which is created as a new sections of English or the European society. And another thing is that the spread of Christianity. At that period, Christianity had unlimited scope and expansion all over the world. Christian missionaries introduced Christianity in a different part of the world, especially Africa, America and Asian countries. Then the another great impact which is connected with this geographical explorations is that the rise of stable monarchy. As we know that this new class of rich merchants and the middle class welcomed a stable ruler or a absolute monarchies in England, Spain and France and other European countries. The great bad effect is listed that the Oriental countries felt all the evil effects of Western colonization, imperialism and exploitations. The Europeans thought that the political dominations is very necessary to exploit the countries. They could achieve their dream on political domination of many of these countries in Asia and African and American countries through their conspiracies and intrigues. European nations fought within themselves in their attempts of colonization of other countries. Each European big power wanted to monopolize the colonization, and so they involved in mutual conflict in the distant lands. In short, that I would like to conclude that the geographical discoveries introduced a rapid transformation in the world economy, and it helped the speedy growth of international trade, and the trade become a global process. Thank you very much.